Wow. All righty.
Hey, Dick,
Okay,
I see you
so
there.
I am going to call our meeting to order. This is our 7 p.m. June 21st meeting of the Lake Boon Commission. All three commissioners are present, Conray, Dan, and myself, Chris. And we are recording this so that we can provide that for Stowe TV and on YouTube. So I'm going to quickly run through our agenda and then we will just get started. So we'll have time for public comment. We do have one set of meeting minutes to look through. We have a number of bills to pay. So we'll have that. Weed treatment, a quick update on that. And then we're just going to have some internal conversation. This is not decision making, but conversation around buoy locations, an update on what's happening on police patrol. We are heading into the end of the year, so our budget, so we have a year-end budget discussion and capital planning. Just again, talking amongst ourselves around what we want to do in that space. We'll give a quick update on the Healthy Lake Boon initiative. And then we'll move on to old business, new business, and setting time for our next meeting before we adjourn. So first thing on our agenda is public meeting. And before I open it to public, I did want to ask, I know we don't have much public on right this moment, but I did want to ask, so right now we have the authority through the state to continue to run these meetings remotely via Zoom rather than having to have them or at least partially physically present. So that has been extended because of, again, sort of the COVID element. They extended it into April of 2022, that we could continue without violating any of our public meeting laws to have a remote only meeting. So I want to open it up to both us as the commissioners and also the public that's here, how folks feel about that, whether you feel strongly we should get back to actually physically meeting in a town hall, or folks are very happy with having remote. So maybe I'll start with just quick Dan and Conray. Any thoughts on that before we kind of open that to the public?
Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, I like it. I like Zoom. I think it may be unfair that the people who are joining us on Zoom are obviously able to make it to Zoom, and there are some people who would only come to a physical meeting, I suppose, perhaps. But I think it does open up access for people, including those who might be on travel, like you today, Chris.
Yeah.
And I think, the recording capabilities, I think it's a more open concept. And in fact, even just the fact that we're all the same level of squares means that it's sort of like co-equalizes the public and the commissioners. Nobody is a higher priority. And I like all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so my yacht club, what we're doing is blended Zoom meetings now. So I'm not recommending we do that because it's a pain to do, but what we do is we have a live meeting and then we Zoom the rest of the meetings for people who want to Zoom in. But I like the pure Zoom. It's really convenient not getting in the car and going to town hall.
Okay. We do have, there is Stowe Town Hall, and it may be something happening also at Hudson, which we could check into, but our setting, there's one room that is set up to allow a meeting to take place in the room and be running Zoom. So that is an option for us. So we can kind of think about that even meeting by meeting for the time being. But that is also an option to do hybrid. Okay, so I'm going to open it.
Let me just comment also about the hybrid. Yep. There have been a couple of meetings like the select board meeting that I actually found it was a hybrid, and I actually found it unsatisfying. I found as a Zoom participant, it was harder to keep track of who was talking and the audio quality as a Zoom participant because it's sort of there's one wide camera showing the whole room
Yeah,
rather than a real direct connection with the individual. So I actually found it frustrating to participate in that kind of hybrid.
interesting. Okay. That's good feedback. Okay, so I know we just have a couple of folks from the public on. Any input from the public on our process for meeting going forward, at least for the next year? Go ahead, Dick.
I would opt for keeping the Zoom. Being away in the winter time, I can try to keep up. And being co-equal, wow, I wonder where that came from. No, I would opt for this because I do think you've got a better option. And with a small group like this, it works. We, in my association down south, it's a big group and it does not work when you have 8 or 10 people sitting around a desk. That doesn't work well online, but with a small group like this, I think it's perfect.
Okay, great. Thanks, Dick.
Yeah, I would also say we very much appreciate Zoom, and we wouldn't be here if eating dinner if if it was in person. So
Yeah.
we'll spare you the view of us eating dinner.
Okay, fair enough.
If it were for a short term, say till Christmas, it would be great.
Yeah. Yeah, and we can revisit this, obviously,
Yeah.
kind of week, almost meeting by meeting as we go. But and Linda Telfair, I know you're just on phone. I don't know if you had any input.
She's muted.
Okay, so maybe no input.
She doesn't have an audio.
Okay, all right, no audio. All right, so excellent. So let me then open it up to general public comment.
How
Is
about
there-
you, Chris? What's your thoughts on this?
Oh, so I definitely I like the Zoom for the reasons that you stated, Dan. And I think it is a really useful thing. We get to see pretty clearly each person, and if people have questions or concerns, it does feel pretty personal in that sense. But I do recognize that it's at least it's still a temporary measure. So this is not, we don't have the authority to do this long term, but we certainly do for the little less than a year going forward. So I think it works well. I think it oftentimes I think we have at least as many people participating. And the fact that you only need to have a phone, you don't have to have a computer. You can just call in. Obviously you won't see what's going on, but it does afford anybody anywhere the ability to do that. So I like it for now, and I think we just kind of week by, or I should say meeting by meeting, decide if we're still comfortable with that, or if either of the towns push us in one direction or another.
Yeah, and I'll say that I don't think any of us have heard any complaints from people who really prefer the in-person meetings.
Yeah, I certainly haven't. Okay, so I'm going to close that part of it. That was sort of my initiated public comment. Anything else from the public you want to raise?
Yeah, I can, receiving communications back from people around the lake, there are, I guess, two things that came up. One was having more prompt availability of LBC minutes, which you already are taking care of, I think. So that's great. The other one is by several people concerned about the huge wakes that are being generated by the wake surfers and wakeboarders, and I don't know what we can do about it except request that they stay near the center of the basins so that they're not so close to the shore, because those waves will dissipate if there's a little bit of distance. They go down somewhat.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to go about that, but we can put out a communication. But maybe if you wanted to word something from the LBC, it might carry a little more weight.
David, is it Basin 1 or Basin 2, do you know? We get,
Well, I'm familiar with Basin 1 and most of the complaints have come there. I don't know what's happening in Basin 2.
we've been kind of lucky. The wastewater boats have been going over Basin 1.
Yeah, and I know that it's Fort Meadow, I think it is, Conway, where the reservoir, Fort Meadow Reservoir, was also having concerns around exactly this. So, kind of the wake size and the impact on the shoreline and other docks and things. I don't know, Conway, if you ever, just curious, do you ever attend their commission meetings?
I do not.
Okay, that was one of the things I'm thinking. I suspect they may record those. I'll check because I the very last minute, it turned out I looked late on one day and they were having a meeting that night, which I couldn't make, but it was one of the agenda items on there. So I'll take the action to just try to connect out with that group and just see if there's anything that came out of their meeting or anything that they're doing. Obviously, it's a slightly different, it's a different lake, a different type of, they have different rules than we do.
I don't
But
know.
good
It's
learning.
a good question is what we can do. I mean, legally, you're responsible for your wake.
Yep.
So the only way to really solve it is, we have a couple what's called surf gates on the lake now. If they're getting too close to the docks, the owner of the dock should file a complaint against the boat. But I don't, they're responsible for their own wake, but I don't know how you enforce it.
Yeah.
Do we know if it's primarily from residents or from people who, bring the boat into the lake?
They're large boats, so they're on the lake.
Yeah.
And we pretty much know who they are, but
So is it possible to just have a direct communication with the people, if we know who they are, to have a direct communication with them?
yeah, that's not a bad
I mean,
idea.
it seems like we're kind of doing this dance around it, but
Mhm.
maybe it's just a, friendly, neighborly, or even an official LBC communication.
Well, we talk to them. I talk to them if they're on my basin. I don't spend enough time on Basin 1.
Mhm.
Okay.
It's a good thought, Dan, is maybe if we know who to talk to, just kind of, again, reminder that they are responsible for their wake, and there are, people have made complaints, and if they stay in the middle, there's a heck of a lot, less likelihood of it concerning anybody.
Yeah, my fear is that somebody's going to get hurt. They're out working on
Yep.
their dock, or an elderly person is getting in or out of a kayak. And
Yep.
I know when I have to work on my dock, I put a canoe under it to lift it up so I can reset the posts. And boy, if one of those waves came by while I was working on it, I could be in real trouble.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Dave, are those boats going all the way down into your basin?
No, well, we get more of the wakeboarders. The wake surfers, thank goodness, stay in the larger part. But yeah, we get wakeboarders that come and turn around right in our cove too.
We've been getting one jet skier that comes
Oh, yeah,
down
yeah.
here and really makes
Turn-
havoc.
Turns donuts. Yeah.
Get the numbers on the jet skier, numbers and
Yeah.
pictures
Okay. Yeah.
on the jet skier. We can do something about that.
Yeah, they have to be 150 feet.
Okay.
Well, there's absolutely no way they can do wheelies down in this part of the lake.
Yeah.
It'd be
So
150 feet.
So Conway is correct about, at that, if you can report it to the police, you get the registration. If you happen to be out there, tell them. I think a lot of folks just, they buy the jet ski and they don't necessarily know what the rules are. So
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very hard to approach them.
yes, I would agree. And I
Yeah.
wouldn't be going out there in my kayak to do so. Although last year I did yell at somebody from my kayak last year.
Okay.
We
Well-
can do the jet ski thing under the police patrol if you'd like, because I definitely want to talk about that.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Dave. And as you mentioned on the minutes, we do sometimes absolutely kind of fall behind. We always have a lag because we can't actually publish the meeting minutes until we have met and reviewed them as a commission. So we're always, well, pretty much always at least a month or two behind, depending on our meeting schedule. But yeah, we endeavor to be better about getting things up across the board here. So
Yeah, and I'll take my.
being patient. I know that goes always. So we'll
Yeah, well,
we'll-
Chris,
we'll do
let's just acknowledge that you have carried the weight of getting things posted, and I've added sluggishness to that.
Just,
It's taken me a while to get logged on. Now I'm able to log on to the site, and
Yep.
so, I mean, I know enough about websites to be able to find my way around, but this has its own perks,
Yes, it
or
does.
not perks,
yeah,
quirks.
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 It has a number of quirks. I will admit that.
And so, but I think, we definitely can do better of getting the things posted.
Yep. So
We
thank
appreciate what you
Dave
do.
for kind of conveying the voice of the community sometimes that we don't hear otherwise. That's excellent. All right, so I'm going to close out public comment, and we are moving on to our meeting minutes. We have one set of minutes to review. Dan, you updated.
Yeah, I
so-
sent out a draft, and then I took the edits that you mentioned, and Conray, you then looked at afterwards, and so we at least have incorporated the things that you raised.
Yep. So these are the meeting minutes for May 24th of 2021. And I'm fine with your edited version.
Yep.
So the last version you sent us,
Yep.
then I'm fine with. It looked like Conray was.
Yeah, I was too, but let's not call it an edited version. You know,
Well, okay, it was a draft, yes.
The last version that was
Yeah.
presented was correct.
Yeah,
For the
So
latest-
do I have a motion?
Well, I'll make the motion to accept the minutes as submitted.
and I'll second.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And that is all three of us, so that passes and we accept those minutes. So then Dan will work on
And now I
getting.
will take that on as my first official posting.
Yay. All right. Excellent. All right, next is our bills. And we're going to talk about year-end budget later on the agenda, so we'll just stick to the bills and then deal with our year-end budget as a separate agenda item. So wanted to just comment because our last meeting, we pre-approved the Solitude bill that we had not yet received because I think there's some concerns going on there about them getting some of their things done. I did end up getting them to send us that bill. So we since we pre-approved it, I did submit that to Stowe, and Conray, you submitted it to Hudson. Is that correct?
I don't remember seeing it. So no, I had not submitted it. I didn't,
So that would have been about a month ago.
wow, I totally missed it.
Maybe, yeah.
We get some darn many emails. The Solitude. Well, it would have been from you, right, Chris?
It would have been from me. Yep.
When do you send it? Do you know roughly?
Let's see. I would say it was probably maybe 6 or so days after our last meeting. So we met on the 24th. So I would say it would be the very end, probably the end of the month. I can take a look and see. Let me find it.
I don't see it in my notes from you. I go back to May 23rd. I could go, unless you send out
So I see it here, and I'll forward it to you, Conray.
May 13th.
This is on it was June 4th.
Okay, let's look at that date.
So I'm sending another copy of it to you.
Oh, I see why I didn't read it. Because I
It
thought.
says,
I got it.
And to be clear, Stowe is 5,200
I got it, Dan. I'll take care of it.
Okay, and
Okay,
Hudson is 2,604.17.
Yeah, I did not see it because it said Lake Boone LBC bills. I thought those were the ones I got it. I read the memo wrong. We'll
okay,
get-
so Conway, you'll deal with that tomorrow so that it
I will deal with that tomorrow morning.
moves on into work, okay?
I think right now.
Glad I brought it up.
Yeah, 'cause I was gonna ask about it.
Okay, excellent. So then we have a bill for reimbursement to Dan for the notice around the weed treatment in the independent. So that's $70, correct, Dan?
Yes, it is, for independent press.
Okay,
Chris, is it possible just to read off all the bills? Let's approve them in one motion.
sure. Sure, we can do that. So we'll just hold on for the second.
So that's a reimbursement to me for $70.
Right, that would be, yeah, it's a heck of a lot. Actually, it's cleaner and clearer, I think, for purposes of the motions to do them each individually. Conway, just so we know the amount and who's getting it.
So I move that we approve reimbursing Dan for $70 for independent press.
I'll second it.
Okay, any further discussion? No, all right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that is all three of us, and that passed. All right. So the second one is for $14.99 reimbursement for me for our Zoom account for the month of June. And do we have a motion on that?
I motion that we accept authorized payment of that, reimbursement of that back to you.
I second.
Okay, any further discussion? No, all in favor? Aye. Aye, that is all three of us. Okay, so that passed. And the final one is reimbursement to Conway in the amount of $31.45 for patrol boat gas.
And how much was that again?
$31.45.
Okay,
And do I have a motion for that one?
I move that we reimburse Conrad $31.45 for gas.
Excellent. And I will second that. All right, any further discussion? Nope. All right, all in favor? Aye. Aye, all three of us in favor, so that passed. Okay. Any other bills I'm not aware of? Because now we are at the end of, we're heading into the end of our fiscal year. This is our, planned last meeting of this fiscal year. So if there's anything you're holding on to, this would be the time. So we don't have anything else anybody's aware of. All righty, excellent. All right, so next on our agenda was weed treatment. So I know that Red wasn't going to be able to make it today. The weed treatment, I think we've talked about, did take place in portions of basin 2, 3, and 4. Is that correct, Dan?
I don't know if they ended up doing
And any
4.
in
They
4?
certainly did 2 and 3, and the
Okay.
question is whether they would have to do 4, and I don't know for sure.
Yeah, neither do I.
Okay. So I know we do have the information about the volume of the product that they put into the lake. What we don't have is any indication yet of, and I'm not sure that that's actually required by the Conservation Commission. We had to get the quantity used, but I think we're still trying to understand what is the, what if they test afterwards, what is the, kind of the, what's the word I'm looking for here? The,
Dissipation,
yeah, how much is in the,
absorption.
how much is showing?
Great.
Concentration, that's it, Conway, thank you.
Yeah,
So I know Red is struggling to get information in general from Solitude.
Yeah.
Um,
So he's suggested, and I'm going to agree with him, that he and I should have a meeting, not just with Kara, but with her manager, because there's no reason, there's no excuse for the kind of tooth extraction that we're doing here to get information. I mean, really, the towns, the residents of the town want to know not just the quantity, but is it safe? And it clearly they've documented that it is. These are, both sonar and diquat have been used, but we have no real clarity from them about what confirms that safety and how quickly it dissipates. And so that's the piece that we need to get to give reassurance to residents and the respective conservation commissions.
yeah,
Do you have any concerns from people? I haven't heard.
Well, in particular, the Hudson Conservation Commission said, what is your report on the safety of this and how quickly it dissipates? And we had no information to provide. They weren't saying that it's unsafe. It's just that we haven't presented anything that documents, or, Solitude hasn't presented, other than generic information, the sort of, any way to put metrics to this.
Well, we certainly dealt with the safety issue when we requested the orders of conditions. So that should be in the.
Well, the order of condition actually says that we're supposed to have measurements afterwards to confirm the dissipation.
But concentration, but that's not a safety issue. I just want to separate.
I'm not raising a safety issue. I'm saying that in particular, Hudson Conservation Commission did not want to approve and we had to get an exception to this. They did not want to approve until we heard from Solitude the quantity and how they were going to measure the dissipation, after use of the.
Okay, but I'm again, because I'm a little sensitive to that safety word, because I went through so much on that way back when. So I have no problem with understanding concentrations, etc. That stuff Solitude should give us. They really should tell us what they brought the lake to, but to do that, they have to do testing, and I haven't seen them do water sample testing.
Exactly. And that's the question that we keep on trying to find out from Solitude. Do they do post-application testing? And I haven't seen them do it. And I haven't had any information from them that says that, well, really it's unnecessary because it's all well known what its dissipation rate is or something. So, I think really we can't say anything more about this until after we meet with Solitude. But I understand what you're saying, Conrad. We're not trying to raise a safety issue. We're trying to respond to to be sure and to reaffirm.
fair enough. So Dan, you're taking that action to.
Yes, I'm taking that
work with
action.
Red
I
on
will
that?
follow up with Red, who's our
Right.
liaison with them, and
Yep.
say, this really, we need a meeting with their senior management
Yep.
to resolve this persistent delay in getting any kind of information from them.
Yep.
Even their plan for where they're going to go, they didn't give it until days before that. We had to delay it because of that.
Right. Okay. And Dan, since I'm gonna reach out to someone on the Fort Meadow Commission, I will
Yeah.
see if they're having similar issues, or if maybe.
If they're working with Solitude.
Yeah, well, they
Yeah.
do. I'm almost positive that they are also there.
Yeah, because Solitude is pretty well monopoly. around
Yeah.
here.
I could verify that because the Fort Meadow Commission came to town meeting and got money to treat, so I know they did.
Yeah. So I'll try
Right.
to find that out sometime. I'll reach out sometime this week and see if I can, talk to one of the commissioners there. I think they're also a commission of 3. So hopefully I can check in with one of them.
All right.
Excellent. Okay. All right. So I think we're all set with that. Okay. So next on our agenda was buoys and buoy locations. I know we've got all the buoys in, we have lights working on all of our buoys. And this is purely discussion. So this is not a decision-making conversation right now. This is kind of in some ways educational for some of us, and just kind of understanding if we need to adjust in any way, or have discussions about adjusting where our buoys sit. And in this case, Conrad, I know we're very obviously very dependent on your knowledge about this. And one of the things I want to understand, like, why a buoy is where it is, right? So we have some mostly no wake. We have one that's not a no wake buoy. It's just a buoy. And I honestly, it's bad on me not having understood this before, but don't understand like how we know where each of these should be. So if we start with, I think you number them, at least mentally you number them, Conrad. So 1 is down at the very beginning of basin 1, correct?
Correct. And you got to think of maybe the purpose of the buoys.
Yes.
So the buoy, the number 1 buoy, the purpose of that buoy is to stop people from cutting the corner back along the shoreline. Because before we put that buoy there, people would come from Dave Gray's direction up the lake, and they'd take a hard right at Jackson's, and they'd be 10 feet from shore. And so way back when we did the safety stuff many years ago, we basically agreed that we would put a buoy on that point to push people out a little bit. So that's simply a marker buoy to try to keep people too close to shore.
So, and that one is right off of the little point that has the cupola, the little.
There's a little gazebo, yeah.
Yes, the gazebo.
Jackson.
Okay. So.
That's a seasonal cottage.
Okay, so that one isn't truly a no wake. That is kind of the fact that it's pretty much kind of a right angle turn there.
Just a marker buoy to try to keep boat traffic. It's roughly 75 feet from shore. And I say roughly because we never go measure it. It's in 21 feet of water. And so the only purpose of that buoy was to try to keep traffic off the shoreline.
And it's also because it's so shallow, if they were to take that right, that's a pretty shallow area.
No, it's not shallow at the point. It's not shallow if you get down to Michelle's house. So we permitted Michelle to have her raft where it is because it's shallow. So there's a raft out with it where it's only a foot deep or so up, to the left of your house, to your dock.
Yep.
So that's simply marker buoy to try to keep people, and it works. Especially at night when it's light and people go around it and stuff, but they're not supposed to go fast at night. So that's simply a safety buoy trying to keep people off the shoreline.
Okay.
And, all 3 of us have harbor master authority.
Yep.
So basically, some of this is a little bit objective. You put it in and you try to get it about where it belongs. But it's always about where it belongs because of wind and boats and stuff. And so as long as they're close to the right spot, I never go back and try to precisely position it.
Okay. Okay. So historically, that one is we try to get it about 75 feet off the shore at that point in order to keep people from kind of flipping and turning, too close to shore there.
Correct. And remember, 75 feet is also a little bit because at what point would you measure? Because the shore comes out to a point. So again, that's why I said approximately.
Okay. And is there, just curious, your thoughts, is there any reason we wouldn't just put that out 150 feet?
Yeah, because yes, many reasons. The lake's too small is the biggest reason. But the other reason is, remember, you can go on the shore if there's no one there. If you're a powerboat.
Well, there's also there's theoretically you can if there's not a dock and there's not if it's not used as a swimming area.
So one of the, if there's not people swimming at the time. So the whole issue with all these buoys, right? You have to be a little cognizant of the size of the lake and everything. And one of the complaints that we had years ago was we had problems with people putting their own buoys out. And all of a sudden the lake was ringed with buoys everywhere.
Right.
And we don't want that. We don't want a million buoys out in the lake for a lot of reasons. So, the buoys we have and the approximate placement was kind of the compromise. And it's 20 years ago we did that. It's a long time. So that's buoy 1.
Yep, that's buoy 1. Okay, buoy 2 is the no wake going into the first narrows.
It's the no wake going to what we call the 1-2 narrows.
Yep. Okay, and so that one is placed at a spot where it sort of is approaching the 300 feet across. Is that the intent there?
More or less. So
Okay.
right now that buoy's probably a little too far out. But since
When you say out, you mean which?
into basin 1,
Okay,
since no one complained, I haven't bothered to move it. But it probably should be 20 feet closer. But that's nothing.
okay. But again, it's the target is to have it at a place so that you know when you're approaching that it's now down to let's say 300 feet across the lake.
Roughly, yeah.
Yes, okay. Okay, that makes sense.
So it's roughly on a line from Kathy's dock to the opposite point, or maybe a little bit closer to a little bit further away from Zareski's house, but in that vicinity. And I really got to go out and look at them too, because the freaking things get moved. People hit them,
Yes.
especially pontoon boats at night. They drive right over.
Yep.
The red light.
Yep. Yep. Well, and honestly, the one of my thoughts of this, and again, not being someone that's been a part of this for long enough, is I was thinking if we get to the point where we can identify where it should be using the latitude longitude, right? A waypoint.
My quick comment on that would be, we don't want to create more bureaucracy. We know wherever the approximate location, everyone's getting an echo. Who's the iPhone that just came on? You're echoing.
Yeah, I'll mute. Go ahead and try again, Connie.
Is that better? So
Yeah.
I'm still getting the double echo. All of a sudden, it wasn't there before.
I'm showing everybody muted except for myself. I can put me on mute, but I don't think anything's.
Don't. So anyways, yeah, that's okay now. So whatever it was went away.
Okay.
It could
Okay,
be.
so you were saying kind of you feel like that adds bureaucracy to the process if we figure out the point and then that we just know that's where it gets dropped.
The trouble is, okay, if we exactly codify that, which I could do with GPS today, then someone's going to come and complain that it's 2 feet off. So it needs to be, all the buoys have a purpose, and that number 2 buoy, the purpose is to make people to go to headway speed only. By the way, the buoy doesn't actually define headway speed. Does that echo me?
It might be. I think everybody is showing on mute.
Can you still hear me?
Yes,
Can you hear me now?
yes.
Okay, I got 2 microphones here. I got to turn one of them off. But we'll try to use this one. So what'll happen if we try to get too precise is then people will call us because we're not accurate. Um, and that's why I kind of, whoever puts them in and out, you know, I need to get you guys out in the lake a little bit more to kind of show you some of that stuff.
Well, I mean, I see your point about being too, fussy about it, but on the other hand, whatever helps whoever puts in, to get it, like you're saying, well, it's probably 20 feet off. Well, if we had a little more precise sort of way of knowing it, we might get into a better place.
Typically, we've always talked between two docks, one on each shore. So on Kathy Miles is one dock, and typically it's the point on the other side. And you try to put it in the center of the opening, but what's the center of the opening? Depends which direction you're coming from.
Yeah, okay, all right. So again, this is kind of instructional, educational for us in some ways. So let's move on to the third one.
One more comment, Chris. Remember that the buoys don't actually define the no wake zone. Okay, so the narrows are what you want to define, and they aren't defined that well either. So if there's no buoy there, say number 2 buoy was missing, you can't go fast through the narrows. It's still illegal.
Correct, but part of the reason it's illegal is because it's too narrow.
Well, it's because our bylaws say that it's headway speed only in the narrows.
Right,
But
because
the
it's,
narrows themselves,
yes,
I don't think there's a precise definition of where they start and where they end.
yes, which kind of means for us, that designation of the no wake buoy is helpful to the boaters, because of what are they don't know where it starts and ends. So obviously
Chris.
that gives them that indication.
Chris, Dave Gray has comment.
Yeah, Dave?
Yeah, just a brief comment. I know Dave Sawarski has said that the real problem is not just in the narrows, but all the boats are coming at high speed, and then all of a sudden they slow down and get to the point where the boat is the least efficient and creates the biggest waves just as they're getting to the narrows. So the waves sweep through the narrows and hit his break wall, which he had to rebuild. And so it doesn't hurt to have those buoys out a little bit from the narrows to try to get them to slow down before they get to the buoy. Yeah.
And Dave, that's the precise reason that I moved them out a little bit. Both
Yeah,
that,
that's good.
Yeah, that's thank you for that feedback. Okay, so number 3 is kind of the same thing, but come from it's the
Number
end
3
of the no wake, and it is the beginning. Coming from the other side, it's the beginning, right?
yeah. So the nice thing about that particular buoy is it's between Ron's house and Teresa's house. So you take Ron's dock, Teresa's dock, and it should be on a line between the two of them. That one's actually been pretty easy to put in about the same place because of those two docks are there. The trouble on Kathy's is we got Kathy's dock, but we don't really have a marker on the other side.
Right.
But for number 3 buoy, it's really easy between Teresa's dock and Ron and Linda's dock. And again, based on David's comment, some years if people are doing what David said, I'll move them a little further out.
Okay. All right. And then we have a buoy that's kind of sitting out in front.
Like I said, that's another safety buoy.
So that's the one that's out off of Barry's dock.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
And so that one's a safety buoy, and what are people supposed to take from that one?
Roughly to keep people, because before I put that buoy or we put that buoy there, people would cut the corner. So what that buoy does is it just keeps them from cutting that corner in either direction. Now, remember, counterclockwise, they should only be coming one way there on that shore. But before that was there, people would come up, get to Barry's house and take a hard right, and they'd be in Jack Smith's dock. Jack's long gone now. It's down Rook's or Rook, something like that. But anyways, so that's again just a safety buoy to kind of keep the traffic where it belongs.
And is the intent that people need to stay outside of that buoy, so not go between that buoy and the shore.
That is the intent.
Okay. And
Unless,
so how do we know how far off of, because right now that one's pretty close to the,
I think that's
really-
about 50 feet right now. It should be roughly 75 feet,
okay,
I'll get the chair.
but let's see. That
Oh,
should-
you want me to get that one?
someone's talking.
I don't know who's,
The iPhone.
So,
I put it in your stall.
yeah, their
all right,
microphone.
I've muted that one again.
So somebody, I'm sorry. So that's what, 1, 2, 3, that's number 4 buoy.
Yep, so that one should be about 75 feet off and.
Yeah, you got the problem, but exactly where you put it, because where's
Yeah.
the point?
Okay,
You know,
but
sometimes
when,
it-
Kami, when we look at, whether it's 75 or it's 50 or whatever it is it taking into consideration the dock itself sticking out, or is that part of, like, if it
no,
was,
when we actually approved those years ago, we said 75 feet for sure.
from shore?
The trouble is measuring it. So unless you get 2 people in a 75-foot tape, it's hard to measure. So
No, I understand. I just wanted to understand. So so it's not from the dock, it's from the shoreline.
correct. And now you get subjective, because where do you measure on the shoreline? And
Yeah,
typically,
no, I
try to
understand.
measure right at the very point there.
Yep.
And it's that particular one, you're better off pulling it towards Barry's house or my house, down the lake a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah,
It tends to work better. But you also got to be careful, because you don't want to choke that narrow spot out.
right, because
that's
that is a super narrow spot.
Yeah.
I
so
mean,
you gotta be
obviously,
careful. You don't want to choke it either. So you don't want to narrow it down too much.
Yep. Okay,
And then you get to the next buoy, 4 or 5, which is the one in front of my dock.
yep,
You know, and that goes roughly from my dock to Red's dock. But it might be a little bit further in right now.
okay, and that one that's a no wake.
That establishes the 3-4 no wake.
Yep.
Correct.
Okay, and so again, while it's not necessarily perfect, that would probably be about, we're at a point where it's 300 feet, where you're entering a zone where it's narrowing down to about 300 feet, and then obviously much tighter than that.
Yeah, and that one narrows fast. So we
Yes,
typically
it does.
put that a little further out, not a lot
Yep.
further out, but just a little bit further out. For that, again, David's reasons.
Yeah, yeah,
The next buoy after that,
okay.
which would be number 5.
So that was number 5.
I'm
Well,
sorry,
yeah, so number 6, really.
number 6. Thank you.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, number 6. The number 6 buoy, that one's a little bit more subjective, because that doesn't open up that quickly back there. So, where it is right now seems to work best. Some years I've had it another 40 feet out. But when you put it way out, what happens is people get frustrated and they take off anyway. So right now the 3-4 narrows, people have been doing, except for jet skis, have been doing a pretty good job of obeying it.
Okay. All right, and then we have,
You got the last one, which is the Dave Mitro buoy. You know Dave? He's a great
Yes.
guy.
yeah, actually, I know his wife. I worked with his wife.
Oh, yeah, they're great. So, and that's about exactly where it goes right now. And I don't have any markers down there. You know where the sunken island is?
Yeah,
Go down towards Dave's house. Where it sits right now, between the shoreline and the center, you can't go in the center anymore. It's all filled in now. In fact, I hit something down there last night. a log or something. So the lake is, you gotta be really careful down there right now. So I don't have a precise exact spot on that one.
Okay, and that one is basically to a safety one for depth or,
So what we used to, maybe the safety, I think we've got that labeled no wake, don't we? We were down there yesterday. The problem is that people would go flying down there, go around the floating island and come out the other side, and they do it at high speed. And people were complaining about that, that live down there, so that's why we put the buoy in. To try to make that basically from that cove down there really should be no wake. Because it's because of the growth and stuff and the trees and stuff. It's not a place you want people going fast.
right? Okay, and that is all of our
Yeah.
buoys.
Number 7, right?
Yeah, that was number 7. Yep,
Right now, number 7 has a red light on it, but not a red light that blinks, just a steady red light. And the number 1 buoy was blinking. It's not blinking anymore, so I hope someone hasn't screwed around with that.
okay, all right. Dan, did you have any other questions? I mean, this was really kind of to bring us up to speed to figure out if, you know, in a future meeting, there's anything we need to address on these, so. Dan? No,
Actually, what I would love to do is pick you guys up someday and go for a boat ride.
yes, and then, we'd be able to do that, we just can't, we can't do any business while we can observe.
That's right. We can talk about the buoys, the lake, the conditions. You just can't make any decisions.
Yeah.
You know, but we've had this.
That'd be fine.
Huh?
Yeah, so,
That'd be fine.
so we should definitely, we should maybe find a time where all 3 of us can do that.
Well, I'm retired, so you guys figure it out, let me know, and most likely I'll be around.
I think all 3 of us are, right?
Yes, it's true.
I didn't know,
Hey,
you're retired?
Chris, you retired?
Yes,
I've retired. I retired in December.
I retired effective beginning of February.
The trouble
Good
is
for you, Chris.
Never.
Yeah. So, so maybe, I don't know, Dan, are you around this weekend?
Yeah, Saturday's better than Sunday. But actually weekend, that's an interesting concept.
Yes, it is. They don't exist.
That's true. That's true. It doesn't have to be a weekend. I was just thinking I'm away for a while, so.
Oh, yeah, right.
It would be
All right,
better.
we'll figure this out. Well, so I think that would be just good. We can get into the boat.
It would be better to do it during the week.
Okay.
Okay.
Like maybe Friday? You want to set a time to do this?
What you want to do is do it
Friday
in
morning's bad for me, but I could do Friday afternoon.
I have a conflict at 3
this
on
company.
Friday afternoon.
I could do it as early as like even noon on Friday.
Noontime Friday is probably a good time for me.
Okay,
Terrific.
excellent. All right, so you'll just pick us up at our docks? I
Yeah.
have a dock in now, finally.
Just let me know again, remind me on, send me an, memory's the second thing to go, so.
Yeah. All right, that sounds great. All right, so we
Thanks,
all
Henry.
set on that topic for now? All right, moving on. So police patrol, just raising that, there was a determination made at the state level that police officers, whether they're full-time or part-time, there is a retirement age, and so we are at the point where Lee Heron had hit that date time frame, and he will no longer, I think by the end of the fiscal year, will no longer, after going into the new fiscal year, will not be able to be the safety patrolman any longer. And so we have had some conversation, and the chief of police is working on kind of how to cover that with his regular patrols and that sort of thing. So we'll get some more update around that from him as he gets into those options. But there is some possibility that there could be fewer hours because he's going to have to give it to regular patrol officers whose rate of pay is probably higher. So we are facing that as a potential thing. So we'll continue to track that with Mike and see if where that takes us. So I don't know if Conray or Dan, you have any other.
I do.
Nope.
So I do. First of all, yeah, it's a sad day to lose Lee because he's been very conscientious and very good. And we should probably send a note from the LBC to Mike thanking Lee for his years of service in the lake.
I think that's a great idea.
He's done a lot for us. A lot of stuff you don't even know. Back when we had a drinking problem on the lake at night, where we, in the morning there'd be always floating ice bottles on the lake. He actually spent hours around midnight just waiting for them and caught them. He said a lot of stuff that was way above and beyond over the years.
So Conray, can I suggest that since you have the longest history on this one, and you may have some personal stories like that to convey, if you draft up something for us?
Send it around.
Yes,
Yeah.
that'd be great.
Right.
So that's number one. Number two is, and this kind of follows up on what David said a few minutes ago. The biggest issue we have right now is not lake residents, but off lake people. And that's been true for a very long time. The problem we're having right now is off lake jet skis. If you own a jet ski, it's really hard to find a place to ride it. One of the things that Lee did a couple times is, like last year especially, we had jet skis showing up from Revere and all over the state. And when we talked to them, they said, yeah, we came here because we figured we could get away with it. So they were politely informed that you're welcome to come back, but here's the ticket you're going to get. And they never came back. And I fear that we're going to have the same problem. Now, as residents, if you can get a picture of the jet ski and get its numbers and call the station, they can actually legally write a ticket at that point. Whether they will or not, I don't know. But if you have a good, clear picture of the machine, because the way the state law runs, the owner of the machine is responsible for the ticket, not the person driving it. So all you need is the numbers and a picture of the violation. And the jet ski rules are very, very severe. There's 8 specific conditions they call out. And people just, I hate to blame the people, but these things are fun. They get on them and start doing what's fun, and it's not legal. And it really upsets people and live on the lake.
Yeah.
So I don't. You probably don't get it in your basin. Well, I'm sure David does. They'll go full speed 20 feet from shore. We see it here all the time, and it's almost always someone that put in down at the public launch, and they've gone high speed through my narrows, high speed through the 1-2 narrows. They ignore all the rules. They just come to play.
And then they do their donuts.
They do their donuts. They jump their own wakes, which, by the way, is illegal.
Right.
As soon as they do a wake and jump their own lake, their own wake, if they were too close to shore, they just lost their license to drive because there's 2 separate tickets. If you want to get really nasty, you can write what's called reckless endangerment against them, and that could be jail time and fines. So they have there's serious liabilities with those machines that can be ticketed. We've talked to the environmental police on it, and I don't want to do this yet, but the environmental police, they will come and stand on shore, and if they see them, they'll just take the binoculars, take the numbers, and they'll send a ticket in. So you don't have to be on the water to get them.
Yeah.
As far as maybe Mike helping us with the Stowe police, if we know it's a drive on, and I'll try to pay attention to that, call Stowe police. If they drove on, they got to get off. a cruiser can be waiting for them. We've done that sometimes too.
That's true.
I mean, Mike's been one of them a couple times over the years where I had trouble. Back when I used to be able to stop people, you know, I called the station and Mike was sitting down there, or one of his people was sitting down there when they went back to the ramp, and they got an ugly surprise. So the other thing to remember is that alcohol is not permitted on the lake.
Right.
So if a cruiser happens to be at the launch and they find beer in the boat, that's a ticket right away. Now, we don't tend to be really forceful on that. As long as people don't abuse it, we tend to kind of overlook it. But it's always in the back pocket. If people get it, we try to go after it. So anyways, that's probably enough of me pontificating, but the off-lake jet skis, I'm worried about.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that. All right, so our next agenda item is related to our year-end budget. So including the bills that we approved today for reimbursement, I believe we're down to about 200 and a little less than $270, 267 or something at this point. And we may be a little lower than that. If there's one notation I have to check with Julie on, I'm just waiting to hear back. There was one thing that I thought she had in this year, which should have been in last year, which if she didn't put it in last year, there's no, we'll have to, it'll fall into it would have fallen into this year. So I just need to check that. That was I think $170 bill that for some reason I have noted as should have been last year and might have been this year. But so we don't have a lot left over. And so any thoughts? I know, Conrad, you had mentioned that you thought we might need chain for next year. I don't know how much chain costs, but if it's,
$100.
it's under 200, I think we're okay.
I'll tell you in a minute.
Dan, were you about to say something?
No, I only wanted to say just a word of praise to you, Chris, for managing the budget to get it down to that level. You've been keeping your eye on it, and that's good. And
You
we're
have to.
neither in
You'll
the red or, we're just, and so if we can bring it down to nothing, we're good. But,
Yeah.
this is a good spot for it.
Yes.
Yeah, it looks like 100-foot box is going to be about $150, maybe $180. So if you want to authorize me to go buy a bucket of chain, then we'll have it next year.
Okay. And you said it's probably 150, 180.
Yeah.
We should be fine then. Let's see.
And I'm sorry, that's a bucket of,
Chain for the buoys.
Yeah.
oh, okay.
Let me just look at do my math on one thing here. One sec. That's not what I want to do. Yeah. Yeah, so Conrad, I think as long as we stay, let's see here. You know what, no, hang on one second. Let me just look at my spreadsheet on that one.
I'll step out for just a moment while you're doing that.
Yep, go right ahead. Conrad, so I think I need to confirm that one concern that I have.
Confirm it, get back to me, but let's do, when he comes back, let's do a motion to approve the purchase. And
Yeah, so if we have, if we have a balance, we can make a motion, maybe if we have a balance, if I confirm we have a balance of at least $180, then,
I'll just look at 5/16 by 70 at Home Depot is $200.
okay, so it's 200. So, yeah, we could be very close to let me, I'm gonna have to validate that, but we can,
We've got to spend the money before June 30th. The bill
Right.
will go in as late as 2 weeks later.
right, we have to spend it before the end of the month.
Right. And
So Dan, while you were gone, so
I'm
we're-
leaving Sunday. I'll be gone Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, but I could do it on Friday if you let me know.
okay, well, it will be pending I get an answer from Julie.
The question is about this carryover from last year, the
Yeah, so
170. And if
we
so,
can-
then you only have like $100. But
yes,
if not, then you got the 150.
yeah, so then we're safe. So,
All right.
so I think what we were just talking about is, we could pre-approve expenditure of $200 on chain, pending, of validation of the, that we have sufficient balance.
Right. So I move that we pre-authorize Conray to use the balance to get chain, and that Chris will determine what that balance is.
I'll second that.
Okay,
It looks like I can buy 3/16, which is heavy enough. I like quarter inch, but 3/16 is $164. 800-pound working load, that's enough.
okay. So I have a motion from Dan. I will second that motion. And do we have any further discussion? All right, seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Right, so I'm assuming the way we just did this is I'll buy it, I'll send the receipt to you, Chris, and you can turn it in as a approved receipt. We don't need another meeting.
Yes, that is correct. But first, so once I confirm we have the balance.
You confirm, you tell me what's up, and then I'll
Yep.
do it. That'd be good, because, our budget's so small. And we've been very lucky on the boat. Now, we actually had some extra expenses this year on the boat and on the Healthy Lake Initiative that we probably didn't accurately foretell. But- Good, thank you.
Okay, excellent. All right. So the next on our agenda was capital planning. Just a quick update on that one. I had a conversation with the chief of police, because he's also talking about potentially needing to do some capital relative to a boat. So he agreed to have a first conversation with Denise and see what we on the LBC need to be talking about, what the police are looking at, and then we would kind of have further discussion. So I'm waiting to just hear back. He's on vacation this week.
Let me comment on that, Chris.
Yep.
His plan won't work.
Well, I know what you're saying, Conrad. So we as far as having a combined, but since we're both talking about at least, at a minimum needing to have new engines, the motors for them, we're figuring it's best to start to have those conversations with the town manager,
Okay, so
that she doesn't come back and say, "Why are you both asking me?"
okay, so just to give you a couple, our boat is okay. We can-
Right. Exactly. It's
For now.
we need.
For now.
Our engine right now, I'm separating boat and motor. Our motor is an 04 motor, so she's 16, 17 years old.
Yep.
We put quite a bit of money into this year, and right now, she's running beautifully. But, so all we're gonna need is a motor.
Correct.
The police boat is junk. The boat is waterlogged. So the police need a boat and motor, which is different than us. So just so you kind of know what's
Yep.
going on,
Yep.
Even put a new motor on the police boat, they might get by with it, but the boat is waterlogged.
Yeah.
And that's a problem.
Yeah.
That's because they haven't maintained it. So where our boat's been maintained pretty meticulously over the years.
Thank you for that.
Welcome. I like it to work when I go down there.
Yes, I understand. So I just wanted to update you guys. So there's nothing for us right now. But once I hear back around an initial discussion probably with Denise from the Stowe to because I think that that the capital plans have to be in sometime in December. So we need to, for our purposes, we need to get started and follow a process that they.
Yeah, can I just ask, this is a dumb question, but I'm just kind of thinking here. I understand that if the police get a new boat, we can't as citizens use that boat because it's only for police. That's the problem. What if the Lake Boon Commission got a new boat? Can the police use our boat?
Yes, they do.
Yeah, they do.
So why not do it that way?
And we don't necessarily need a new boat either.
No, but what I mean is get a new boat, but have it be the LBC boat that the police also use, rather than a police boat that we also use, which can't.
Or just simply continue to maintain appropriately the LBC boat that the police.
Right. I understand that's a default scenario, but the idea of having a new boat that we can share that solves a number of problems.
Yeah.
We know we cannot do it by having it be a police boat because we can't use it.
Correct.
On the other hand, if that new boat were the LBC boat,
yes,
can the police use the LBC boat? Maybe that's a way around it by flipping it. You follow what I'm saying?
Yes, absolutely. And we know they can.
So then maybe that's if the idea is to have a new boat that.
No, and we don't need a new boat. And what you're missing is redundancy. Over the years, there's been many times when one boat or the other was broken. And so if one boat is down, the other boat gets used by the police.
Because I know, well, okay, that's why I say dumb question, but I know it was the police chief who actually was first suggesting having a shared boat.
Correct.
And we've concluded that doesn't work that way, but it was his idea.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Okay, perfect. All right, last thing before we just go to old business, new business, Healthy Lake Boon Initiative, any update?
Yeah, I'll just give very briefly. We did another coordinated sampling on June 13th, and everything went well except for one thing. The lab we work with got some kind of confusion and they didn't pick up the samples in time. So Dave Gray, thank you, Dave, found an excuse to go out onto the lake with Karen, and they went out and they got a bunch of more of the chlorophyll samples, which then we were able to get, so we had a full set. But it was a serious enough violation of process. And we had a couple of other previous issues with this lab. So I asked for a meeting with the senior folks at the lab. Dave was there, and Rebecca, Kirk, to really sort of raise this from a management perspective. It's not just a scientific question, it's a management question. We want to make sure that we're doing this effectively. We had a solid meeting, and I think we resolved the issues, but we're gonna have one more follow-up after they've had a chance to internalize the changes of process and just recognizing that it's a very good quality lab. I mean, they know what they're doing, except that we've had a couple of issues. And I don't know if Dave, if you want to add anything to that.
No, I think you covered it well, Dan. And you're really good at forcefully holding their feet to the fire. So good job.
Yeah. And I guess the other thing I'll mention is that we're having our next steering committee coming up on Thursday, because we have a monthly meeting. And the topics will be the annual report that we now will have enough information to finish. And I'll discuss that with the steering committee, but we also will take a closer look at Monhan's Cove, which we've seen as sort of a complex part of the story. Dave, I know you went out and collected some more data, and I don't know if you want to add anything about the Monahan story just for, briefly for here.
Well, yeah, I took a couple samples this morning at 3 different locations going up the tributary. And there's a fair amount of flow down where it goes right under the Main Street culvert. Then I went up to the Parmenter Road culvert and there's a little less flow. Then I went all the way up to the golf course. And it was just a trickle there. And the electrolytic conductivity up at the golf course was very high. It was about 4 times what it is in the lake. And it was just a trickle, so I don't think it's contributing a whole lot now, but when there's a runoff, we'll probably want to take another sample. And if it's that high, then we've got to analyze and find out what it is that's coming off that. I think they cherry pick the time that they take their samples to comply with their COC. And we can get there more frequently.
David, we've known for years that they were causing a problem. We've never been able to prove it.
Yeah, the measurement I took is just a general conductivity, so I don't know what was causing it. It's quantitative, not qualitative. But when we take the samples for phosphate and nitrogen, then we'll know. We can nail them.
Conductivity is caused by either a salt or a metal, right?
Yeah, any dissolved ionic material, which is usually minerals, but it could be fertilizer.
Right, phosphate. Yeah. I can't guarantee, but we never had a big weed problem in that cove until they built that golf course. So.
Well, that's what we're trying to, that's really right at the core of this Healthy Lake Boone initiative, is to quantify the respective causes, sources, and be able to deal with that.
Yeah, excellent work, guys.
Yes, yeah.
Thank-
amazing. Dick, did you have a question?
I did. I want to follow up on what Connie just said. In the old days, back in the 60s, there was a serious problem as recorded in the first series of reports. So that's of long standing. And then when the golf course came in, the first time it came in, the first that it came in, there was a huge plume of silt that came right down and spewed out way beyond the cove itself. So there are issues with that cove. How much is the golf course? Well, hopefully we'll find out.
I can add to what Dick said. That cove used to be navigable all the way up to the end. The Gray Ranch house that's on Main Street used to have a boat ramp in its backyard where they could put boats in and out. And Dick, I believe when they rebuilt that bridge, they also silted it in a lot.
No, I wouldn't be surprised.
So yeah, that used to be 4 or 5 feet deep all the way up to the end, and it's not anymore.
Yeah, in the oldest of days, it was serious, and then it got considerably better. You're right.
Dick, I'm wondering, can you join us in our steering committee meeting? You have expertise both in the history and as a resident of the lake, as an earth scientist. I'm wondering if you could join us. Our meeting, the next one is Thursday night at 7:30.
Oh, good. Another damn meeting.
Well, it's either that or work on your book, right?
Yeah, something like that. We'll talk because you asked a question about Barton Road, so let's talk about that later.
All right, I'll give you a buzz.
Okay. Moving along, Madam Chair.
Okay, I am moving us on. Any old business? I have nothing on my note for old business. Anything, Conray or Dan?
I'm good.
Conray, it's good. Dan, anything on old business?
Nope.
Excellent. So new business, anything specific we need to make sure is on our agenda, unique on our agenda for our next meeting, and we'll talk about when that is.
So Chris, I'd like to have a topic on there called budgets.
Budgets,
It's been a long time since we created that budget.
okay?
So,
Yes, you're right. I know. I have to keep remembering that we're still working off the one we did a year and a half ago.
Right. So maybe on our first meeting next fiscal year, we should just review the budget that we're working on for that year.
Yep,
So we're all
that
on the
sounds
same
good.
page. I mean, we can't change it now, but
Nope, nope, it's good to have it forefront. All right, we'll have that. Anything else come to mind?
no, I'm good.
Nope.
Okay.
Motion
Um,
to adjourn? Oh, no, you want Dave next meeting. I'm sorry, I jumped.
Next meeting, date of next meeting. So I don't think we have anything pressing at this point. So I don't think we have any particular deadlines that we have to hit. So timing wise, do we feel like we need to meet in July or?
Let's make it August.
Fine
That
with
works for
me.
Obviously, if there's something comes up, we'll
Correct.
deal with it. So let's say August. So let's see. All right, so we tend,
Well, oh,
yeah, days of the week, any particular?
I'm open.
Not Thursdays.
So why don't we make it around the 17th, maybe that's a Tuesday?
Tuesday, the 17th.
yeah, that sounds good.
That's okay as far as I know at the moment. All right, so we'll target that. I'll check my calendar when I'm back home. If there's any issues, folks, let me know. And we'll pull together an agenda in July for that.
Excellent.
Okay, and
Now a motion to adjourn.
motion. All right,
Second.
seconded. All right, any further discussion? No, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, that is all three of us.
Thank you,
Excellent.
everybody.
All right, thank
Aye.
you very
Thanks.
much. I am
Hey,
going
Dick, by the way, what is your phone number?
I'm
You're muted.
stopping the recording.
Yeah, 978 562